Hi, welcome to DramaMeans. We're talking about the 2024 US movie Deadpool and Wolverine. Today, drama means action, drama means comedy, and drama means a whole lot of sauce and not much nutrients.
First, a little bit of a summary. A retired quasi-superhero turned car salesman is trying to put his life back together when he learns his entire universe is about to be destroyed by a power-hungry bureaucrat. In an attempt to save everyone he loves, he seeks out the help of a drunk, past his prime member of the X-Men, the Wolverine.
So, this is kind of a special episode. We don't usually talk about American movies.
No, we try very hard not to talk about American movies because it seems like everyone is always talking about the American movies. There's a million podcasts about movie reviews and what you should watch and reviewers and reviewees, and everyone's got a damn opinion.
Yeah, and we have ours.
But this one, I think we've been talking so much about when it came to like Alienoid and different things we've talked about on this podcast about, CG taking over, plot and character and all the kind of stuff. And when I watched this movie, I was like, there's a lot we can talk about here that is very relevant to what we talk about week to week. Like a movie knowing its own identity and knowing its tone and character, but then substance lacking maybe because, there's a lot of, how do you put it? I think sauce is how you put it in the intro, but like a lot of fluff, a lot of not so interesting moments, but are just meant to get a cheap laugh.
Yeah, it was, the thing is, everything we got was expected.
Well, it's a Deadpool movie. There's no question. I think anyone going to see this movie and is like upset about what it is, you have to understand you were walking into a Deadpool movie.
Yeah. So it's like the same comedy that we saw in previous Deadpool movies. We got it. It is, that Ryan Reynolds humor that's very consistent. It has all the action and like over gory,
gratuitous violence and blood.
Yeah. So it was all there. So if that's what you wanted to see, that's what you got. I personally just wish there was a little bit more plot.
Well, plot part, like when you think about the first Deadpool movie, all of the things that were in this movie were in the first Deadpool movie, but they also managed to tell you a story and introduce you to this character or kind of reintroduce you to this character. And it was a little charming, and he had friendships, and he had all these things that you could kind of grab onto to kind of pull yourself through the action and blatant violence and, sex jokes and like all the stuff that is just kind of like, oh, ha, that's funny. That's crude. That's a quotable moment in a movie. And this one really was lacking the connection with the audience other than, oh, look at that cool Easter egg. Look at that cool action sequence. Look at that cool piece of CG. Look at that funny quip. It's stuff that it's about as deep as a dinner plate, right? Like it's a very shallow movie. Yeah. It's just all right there for you to laugh at and eat some popcorn too, which is fine. People will like this movie. And I do think that most people who like Deadpool movies will like this movie. But I do wish it was a little deeper.
Yeah. So literally when we were walking out of the theater, there was a group of, I don't know, early 20s kids, and they're all talking about the movie, and one in particular person was like, oh yeah, it was kind of cool in the beginning. I fell asleep in the middle, and then at the end it kind of got me again.
Yeah, which isn't a rave review.
Yeah, like literally someone slept through all the action.
Because the action didn't mean all that much. We should probably talk about what was good about it first, because I think I don't really want to dig into like specific jokes, but what Deadpool does well is Deadpool. What Ryan Reynolds does great is the voice of Deadpool. It's this wisecracking. I talk too much and everyone knows it. He never shuts up. He always has a thing to say. He never has a silent moment. He doesn't never lets a moment go by, and fills it with awkward jokes, sex jokes, a lot of very like homoerotic jokes, like just stuff like very Deadpool. So as far as the tone goes, it's very on brand for what they were trying to do.
I mean, I liked the dog.
Dogpool, that was the highlight for you?
Yeah, it was actually the highlight for me. And it's sad because I was such a Deadpool fanatic for a long time. And it's kind of really fizzled for me.
Yeah, I found myself chuckling more than like laughing out loud. I did think the Dogpool thing was funny. I thought the like beautiful, nice Deadpool, I thought that was kind of funny. It was kind of a one note joke that they played a little too much, but like I thought it was funny. And then I like the other puppy in the movie, which is Peter. Like I do find Rob Delaney kind of like, I liked him in Deadpool too. Like I loved that he was the only one that survived that crazy sequence, or like one of two that survived it. Like he's an office worker and he's the one who survived the mission with Deadpool.
Yeah.
So I have to say I like that. And again, there were jokes that I chuckled at. There was nothing instantly memorable as far as like, you leave a movie. When I was in, high school, college, you watch like Snatch, you watch Austin Powers, and you come out of those movies, a Big Lebowski, and you just quote them. Like you're a dumb college kid and you think, I'm just going to quote this movie because that makes me funny, right? I didn't find this movie to have those quotes in it. Like, and maybe I'm just old now and I don't think of that kind of sense of humor, but I couldn't tell you a single particular joke from this movie, even though I did chuckle and laugh at a few.
It's funny that you bring this up with like the the person that always like quote movie references and at the party, and they think they're like super cool and they think they're hilarious because they just remember what was in really funny movies and then they think they're funny. Like this whole movie gives me that vibe.
Yeah, it's a very like the guy at the party vibe of like, look at me, I'm funny because I quote, you know, whatever sex comedy came up. I quote American Pie, like in our day. It's like, oh, I quoted Stifler's mom. I'm really funny, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
There's a particular brand of humor of people that go around quoting movies to each other, and like no like hate, but also it's again not all that deep or creative, right?
Yeah.
It's nothing we haven't heard before. I do have to also say I did not need all the cameos. Like there was a lot of cameos. There's a lot of Easter eggs. There are a few that I do want to point out that I actually really did like. I thought the Chris Evans cameo kind of flip was a nice like wink because he's played both Fantastic Four, Mr. Flame, whatever it is, Captain Flamo. I can't remember what his character is. Dr. Flame. Something about flaming.
I don't know.
He says flame on. That's the only reason I keep saying flame.
I don't think that's his name, though.
No, that's his like superpower. Like when he calls that out when he turns into a fireball. The Human Torch. He's called the Human Torch.
Is that what he's called?
Yes, I believe so.
As the thing is, we can't remember Fantastic Four at all. And it's funny because, yes, it belongs in the void.
The void, yeah. But that's why I think it was funny because you're expecting, or you should be expecting, they want you to expect Captain America. You remember the Chris Evans character, Captain America. You may not actually remember the Chris Evans Fantastic Four because it was pretty not memorable. So the fact they went there with it, I thought was pretty good. It was pretty clever. I also don't mind seeing Blade. Like, I was a pretty big fan of the original Blade. I have a soft spot for Wesley Snipes, like one of those like 90s action guys. So I don't mind a Blade cameo. The rest of them, I kind of didn't need.
I'm sorry, but I know everyone was so excited to see Channing Tatum as Gambit. And as Gambit is my favorite character, I feel like Channing Tatum kind of ruined that character for me now.
I think it's already ruined from was the Taylor Kitsch version of it. Mm-hmm. But like, I agree, it was a little cartoony.
Yeah.
I think we both walked out thinking, I would just like to see someone try to play Gambit. Like, the reason that Hugh Jackman is the greatest Wolverine, no one thought he was going to be a good Wolverine in the first X-Men. No one wanted Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine. Everyone went, huh? Hugh Jackman is going to play Wolverine? Okay, I guess. And then it's become the most iconic character. And the same thing almost Ryan Reynolds in Deadpool. Like, he's made that character his own. So when you have a big star showing up as a character, it looks like a big star who is just cosplaying at Comic-Con. Like, it doesn't, I don't get lost in that character. I don't get engrossed in it. I'm like, oh, there's Channing Tatum with a Gambit headgear on.
Yeah, whereas, like, I literally can't imagine anyone else being Wolverine or anyone else being Deadpool.
Yeah, they mix so well. I mean, they have those characters. They took ownership of them. But it wasn't, they weren't giant, massive stars when they played those characters for the first time. And I do think a lot of the action was fine. I don't think it was as top-notch as it could have been. I feel like we've seen better as far as action choreography and action stylistically done. I don't like action slowed down. It drives me nuts. I do not like slow-mo action scenes, and they do it a lot in this because they want to show you all these crazy details and, like, Deadpool, like, flipping and flying and going through the bus and all these things. And, like, I just don't want to see slow-mo action. I want to see slick and crisp and, like, cool moves you haven't seen before, or, like, a twist on a move we've seen before, or something unexpected. And it bothers me when they slow it down. It just takes all of the energy out of it for me. And that whole first sequence was just like pause as they're doing the credits. Like, that was kind of clever, but it was just like slow.
Yeah, I did like some parts where they actually did fight, and it's not like shooting things at each other. Well, I guess Deadpool uses his guns, but, like, that's what gets me the worst is, like, when CG fighting is just, like, they're standing there and then, like, it's all CG's work.
Mm-hmm.
So at least there's some kind of real movement amongst them, but for the most part, it's not the best fighting we've ever seen.
No, it's fine. Like, I thought it was clever that he, like, takes apart Logan's corpse and fights with his, like, indestructible bones. Like, it's a very Deadpool thing to do. And, like, it's kind of clever, but again, it went on really, really long. And again, I understand. People are going to be like, but they were doing the opening credits in a clever way. I get it. I get that's why it was long. But also, it was just long.
Yeah. And, like, he literally is like, bear with us. We're almost to the end.
Yeah.
Like, they know that it's long, and they know they wasted a ton of time just doing a bunch of, like, goofy things for the sake of being goofy.
Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with that as long as it's surrounded by substance, I guess. If the movie takes breaks to have substance between all of the nonsense, then the nonsense was really funny. But in this version, it just felt like the whole thing was kind of nonsense. And then also, anytime they asked Hugh Jackman to, like, act, like, it was like, all right, Hugh, now's your acting scene. It just felt like he was in the wrong movie. Like, it was almost so good. I'm like, oh, he's just playing all this emotion in his face, and he's doing this subtle thing, and his eyes are wet, and you can tell he's tortured. Are you in the right movie? Because this feels out of place now, because it's so different. There's no bridge that has got me here, from dick jokes to I killed everyone I knew. Like, what?
Yeah. I think also, like, that first part where, like, oh, these are all the people that matter to me, those people were barely in it.
Well, that's one of my biggest problems with the whole movie is, well, let's just call it lack of stakes, right? Because we have two superheroes who are more or less indestructible. Like, Deadpool regenerates, so does Wolverine. Wolverine's also made out of indestructible metal. Like, neither of our heroes can really be killed. I guess if you put them in a blender and then spread their blended parts across the universe, maybe they wouldn't come back to life. I still don't even know if that's true, because it kind of wasn't at the end. But Then they give us stakes like all of his friends are going to die. But then we don't see the friends the entire movie. It's just a Polaroid picture. Like, if we don't do this mission, these people in this photograph are going to die. And then on top of that, he doesn't even have a good plan of how to save his friends. He's just kind of like, yeah, maybe this will work. And then it kind of accidentally works.
Yeah, I feel like so much thought went into, like, you know, what characters we can bring back, or, like, how many times I can stab Wolverine or whatever it is. And that, like, they don't really care to really bring that, like, the emotions in the forefront, which, like, honestly, the whole movie is based off of this one thing, is that he cares about these people. We don't see the people, we don't see them kind of maybe disappearing or, like, being hurt or being threatened in any way. And it's like it doesn't even feel like they're real.
Well, it's the one thing that superhero movies, a lot of time, it's a mistake they make, which I used to call it, what is it? It's like giant skybeam, where like a bad guy would stand in the middle of a forest and they would shoot this beam into the sky, and that was going to, like, over the course of the movie, destroy the universe. Like, there was several movies that did like sky beam of destruction. And so there you have an inactive bad guy sitting next to a beam while our heroes just try to get them and shut down the beam, which is exactly this movie. There's a box in a subway, and the box is going to take 3 days to build, and when the box is finished getting built, your friends die. And it's such an inactive bad guy plan that it doesn't cause you to actually try to solve the problem, because the problem is too simple to solve. You go punch the box, and then you destroy the box, and then your friends don't die. So they had to come up with all of these other obstacles. So the friends aren't even in the movie, and they're just fighting like third-party obstacles. Like, at some point, I couldn't understand what any of the characters in the movie wanted. Like, Deadpool wants to save his friends, but how? By, like, getting the Wolverine and doing what exactly? Like, fighting all of the time travel guys, I guess, and destroying the box. He's like, oh, I can't fight these guys by myself. I'll get the Wolverine to help me fight.
Well, his goal was, he figured that since his Wolverine died in his world, which is what causes his universe to unravel itself, because, like, the anchor that is the most important part of that whole universe, which is really hard for me to believe that this one person, like, a whole universe would unravel because of one person dying.
Yeah, it's a stretch.
Yeah, it's a super stretch, and okay, fine, I'll believe it because it's your world that you're painting. And then, so he thinks that just bringing another Wolverine will, like, suffice.
Yeah.
That was actually his only plan.
I know, but then the other guy's like, you think that's going to work? And then at the end, it totally works. Like,
it only really works because they get sent to the void. If they didn't get sent to the void, it wouldn't have worked at all.
I guess, but okay.
Okay, because, like, let's dig deeper.
So here's let's just go through kind of in chronological order of, like, why the movie has some big times, like, stakes and bad guy and all sorts of problems. So you have Deadpool being presented a problem by someone who is his friend 2 seconds ago. Hi, I'd like to recruit you into my organization. You want to be an Avenger? You're going to be an Avenger. Okay, great, I'm an Avenger. Actually, I'm going to destroy your universe. Ugh, bad guy. So, like, we have like a bad guy turn, right?
Yeah, but it's like, why would he think that Deadpool would, like, help him hurry up the unraveling of the universe?
Well, he tried to explain it by, like, oh, the higher ups, like, want you around, but they don't care about the rest of your universe. Like, they want to keep you around. But it's a little bit of if you say so.
Okay.
So then he's like, okay, I'm going to go get the Wolverine, because since my universe is collapsing because of no Wolverine, I'll go get a different Wolverine so that we can, like, figure this out. So then he brings Wolverine back to that guy, and that guy's like, this is a shitty Wolverine. You think that that's going to fix it? Just bringing another Wolverine is never going to fix it. Okay, so then they get tossed to the void. And literally everything that happens in the void is just them trying to get home. It's like E.T. trying to go home. And I have no idea what Cassandra wants from them. Is that her name? Cassandra Nova.
Yeah.
I have no idea what she actually wants. Like, she has no goals. She just wants to live in the void by herself and control it. And then she's just kind of like, I can kill you, but I won't kill you guys, but bye.
Her goal was to feed them to the smoky thing.
Okay.
I forgot what the smoky thing is from. It's like another Marvel character.
Yeah, some other failed character, because I don't remember what it is. But
the smoky thing is what we're gonna call it.
But she doesn't have like a overall real goal of the movie. Like, she doesn't have an active thing she's trying to do in opposition to her characters other than feed them to Smoke Beast. He's the smoke monster from Lost. I don't know.
No, I like Smoky Thing more.
Smoky Thing?
Yeah, the Smoky Thing.
Okay, the Smoky Thing. Here and forever. It's called the Smoky Thing. So then she becomes kind of the bad guy. Because they also just like kind of think that she can send them out of there.
Yeah, but also like it's weird because they do this weird like bad guy switch, right? Because the first bad guy isn't powerful enough to be a bad guy. So it's like they could easily beat him.
Yeah, well, that guy isn't really much of a threat. And again, the thing he's proposing that's the problem of the movie is a box in a subway that's going to destroy the Earth. And just going there and destroying the box is a dumb movie. Like, fighting British bureaucrat to destroy a box is not a very good movie. So they had to come up with this whole other thing. And they came up with this void because they wanted to do all these cameos and all these throwaway, characters and all this kind of like make all these Fox Marvel jokes and stuff like that. So like, what better way to do that in the Island of Misfit Toys? Like, that's exactly what it is. So there's a bad guy switch, but then our one bad guy doesn't really have a plan other than, I'll feed you to the smoke thing. Well, that doesn't work. Who cares? I'll just leave you alone. But wait, we have to go back and talk to her because she might be able to send us home, even though we're not even sure why we believe that, other than she's super powerful. And then she happens to be able to send them home. Okay, so then we switch back to bad guy number one, British bad guy with the box, with the danger box. But then Cassandra is like, oh, actually, I want to use bad guy's danger box. And now, so she's the bad guy again. It's like such a bad game of ping pong that I just lost all sense of what we're fighting for. And again, we don't see the people we're concerned about. We're just so deep into the movie. I'm just like, maybe there's one more action sequence and it's over.
Yeah. I definitely got bored.
It did kind of get exhausting. Like, it got tiring to watch.
Yeah.
Like, after a while, the references and the Easter eggs were just kind of like, I don't know, they're kind of ticking boxes, it felt like. Like, there was no point to any of it. And that's where, deep into a movie, and all these movies are too long, he even makes references, breaks the fourth wall, like, oh, don't worry, we know audiences are used to seeing it through long movies. But, like, haha. You know what I mean? Like, that was a cute reference.
Yeah.
Just very not nutritious, the entire experience.
Yeah. But, like, sometimes, the thing is, usually when you eat junk food, right, it's not nutritious, but you're enjoying it. You like that food. It tastes real good, right? And for me, it was just like, no, this just gave me a stomach ache.
I thought it was one of those movies that I will never watch again. I feel no need to see it over again. There's no repeatability here for me. Did I enjoy it while we were watching it? Kinda. Like, I wasn't angry at it during it. I was just kind of like chuckling at the jokes and like watching it. And some of the references are funny. Some of them fall flat, which they're going to. So it's not like it wasn't enjoyable like junk food. It just wasn't satiating at all. Like, as soon as the movie was over, I did have a stomach ache. Was just like, why did we do that?
Yeah, and it definitely didn't like satisfy any type of craving.
No. Which is sad because I actually really do like the Wolverine character. I really like Deadpool. It was cool to see them in a movie together. There was a lot of like things that I think they did really well. Like I think Wolverine's suit they did really well for kind of the first time ever. Like the very classic yellow with the mask and everything. Like we haven't really seen that since basically the cartoon and the comic books.
Yeah.
So I love these two characters and I like them together and I like both of the actors. It just was kind of a bunch of nothing. It was kind of a pile of nothing.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just I'm in the wrong demographic now. Like if I was in my 20s, I would be quoting this with my friends on the way home. I would be repeating the funny lines and like, oh my God, remember when he said this? But like at this point in my life, I'm just not. I don't have I honestly can barely remember a joke. Like the only joke I remember is when the nice pool turns to the camera and is like, I can break the fourth wall too. The proposal. Like that's the only like specific joke I remember in the entire movie.
The thing was, I was such a big fan of the first movie, you know? And it had so much heart and it had a goal and it was smart, it was witty. And now it's just like, I don't know. It's just like, oh, we know that this worked in the first movie. Let's just use a lot more of it and then forget about any kind of real story.
Yeah, I think they just focused on the wrong places.
Yeah.
I think that's what it really is. It comes down to just they're putting a lot of resources into figuring out, like, how do we get Chris Evans in this movie, and Channing Tatum, and Wesley Snipes, and Jennifer Garner, and Hugh Jackman, and how do we get all of these people together, and how do we do a fight scene with 100 Deadpools? And it just felt very concept-y. Like they had all these concepts of the void with all of these, Fox defunct properties lost in the void of nothingness because no one wants these movies. They're, again, the island of misfit toys. Oh, then we'll get these characters that can come from all of these different places. Like they had all these concepts. They just didn't attach them to anything with a spine, with anything with a guiding light to go. How do you get from one concept to the next in a way that makes us really root for our characters and care what they're doing? Other than we're just waiting for the next one-liner to kind of pop up. I think this movie could have really been helped if they would have built the movie around, and I could say this about a lot of Marvel movies, if they would have built this movie around a active bad guy plan and then reverse engineered it to, well, how do our good guys stop it? Why do we need the Wolverine and Deadpool to stop this bad guy plan, and having the bad guy be an active participant in the movie rather than just a bureaucrat in an office building a box? It would solve a ton of problems, because then you would get him threatening the friends in a way that was on screen rather than just off screen. Like off screen, multi-universes away isn't a great driver of a movie, because you do forget, wait, why are they doing all this? Like, and I think that's the problem with multiverses in general, is that it kind of is a jumbled mess of who cares after a bit. So I think that's one big thing with this. If they would have just had a bad guy with a coherent, active plan that would have taken multiple steps to unwind, then we might have been able to see a movie that helped our characters navigate it in an interesting way that didn't just feel like fluff. And then the jokes would be supporting a journey we cared about.
So when I was watching the movie, I felt like I was fine with it, and I didn't have like anything specifically that made me like hate the movie. I remember sitting there and I'm like, I'm really bored. I thought that way. But it wasn't like, oh, I really fucking hate this movie. But now I'm like sitting here and we're talking about it. I'm thinking back on it and I'm just like, I can't remember what I enjoyed about it. And I'm like, I think I really kind of hate this movie.
It's weird because I feel the same. I walked out of it going, oh, yeah, that's kind of mindless fun. Like, kind of harmless fun. You know, one of those movies where you don't really expect much out of. Like, no one goes to, like, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and expects to be, like, wowed by, like, the brilliance of the screenplay.
Yeah.
But you're like, oh, no, that was, like, memorable. That was fun. It was clever. It was dumb. Like, there's a movie called Dumb and Dumber that I sat through and watched. And actually, in the end, you go, oh, this actually is a pretty good movie. It's got structure. It's got character. It's got things to, like, grab onto. I feel the same way. I don't really know what was in this movie to hold on to. It really doesn't feel like anything. It doesn't really feel like a movie.
Yeah.
Which is sad because I liked the first one. I liked the second one a little less than the first one. But I thought it was still fun. And this one just kind of felt like they focused a lot on character things. Like, both characters sound like characters. But as far as investment, there was nothing really to invest in.
Yeah. Because honestly, like, I didn't care. Like, that one little scene of them at the party, like, was supposed to make us care for all these people. And of course, they're people that we've seen in the past 2 episodes. So we should care about them, right? But I didn't.
But you also, do you remember who all those characters even are?
Well, I remember 3 of them were part of the X-Men, and I'm like, why didn't they go help? And also, when Logan was sitting in the dining room with them or whatever at the end of the movie, like, why did they not know each other? That, like,
Well, yeah, maybe they just didn't care to mention it, but yeah,
it's just so, like, because they were X-Men, right? Like, so it's just, I don't know, it just felt so. And also, like, oh, if they're gonna die, or if, like, those people come, like the timeline police or whatever, and it's like, well, those 3 are X-Men. Like, a lot of these people can help you.
Yeah.
They helped you in the last 2 episodes. I don't know why, like, they're now nothing other than you don't want to pay them, and you spend all your money,
Well, that's probably it.
getting all these other cameos that, like, again, those cameos had no substance. And I just feel like it's basically fan service to the fans, right? All these, like, Easter eggs and like, references to other things. They just want fans to be like, oh my god, I know what he's talking about because I know this thing, and I'm a fan of Elektra, and I'm a fan of, like, all this. I don't know who's a fan of Elektra. I don't get it, but
yeah, I don't know where you're going with that. Where are all these hardcore Elektra fans out there? Just, they brought their size to the theater and were like, I can't wait to see Jennifer Garner reprising her role
for 2 seconds. But it's just like, but this is all just like fan service. These are like, so, like, when you're watching an anime, these fan service episodes are filler episodes, literally to make a series way longer than it needs to be. And but the whole movie, anything about it's just fan service. It's nothing that we really want. If you're interested in story and, like, building characters and, like, having heart and, like, real bonds, like, it's just not.
Yeah, it's not there.
Yeah.
I also think it has a problem. Like, sometimes we'll watch an anime and then it'll take like a year and a half for them to come out with, like, the next season of that anime. And then you start watching the next season and you go, who are these characters? Who's that one? Who's that minor character? And you almost don't remember who the people are in the show because it's been so long since you watched it and you've watched 20 other things since then. I felt a little bit like this. Like, I was like, is that his girlfriend from the first movie or the second movie? Or is that the one that died that came back? Like, I was, like, trying to remind myself who everyone in that room even was. And after about halfway, I was like, it doesn't really matter. They're just friends. They're just friends. Like, who cares? But I have one refrigerator logic. Can we talk about refrigerator logic things?
Okay.
Because I don't know if we've ever talked about that on the podcast.
No, I don't think so.
So, like, everyone thinks they know what refrigerator logic is, and then most people always get it wrong because they think refrigerator logic means plot holes. And that's not what it means. Refrigerator logic is that thing in the movie that you don't think about in the movie at all. Like, you don't even notice that it's in the movie. And then later, an hour after you finish the movie, you go to the fridge and you go, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. But like in the middle of the movie, you just didn't even notice or you didn't compute it. That's what fridge logic is. It's not plot holes. So let's get that clear, first of all. The fridge logic I have for this occurred to me today. So Logan, Wolverine, in his universe, the one where Deadpool finds him, in that universe, the humans came for the mutants. And they killed all the mutants when Wolverine wasn't there. Then he went on a killing rampage because he was angry that all his friends died. And he killed everybody. At some point, he had to stop killing people. And then they just, like, let him be. Like, he didn't go to jail. Like, he didn't get imprisoned in mutant prison. They didn't try to kill him. He just went on a killing rampage for a long enough time where they were like, hey, man, if you just instead go drink at a bar, we'll leave you alone. And the bartender, he'll be grumpy to you. He'll say you're not welcome there because he knows that you're past. You murdered a bunch of people. Usually when you murder a bunch of people and everyone knows you've murdered a bunch of people, they call the cops and go, hey, there's a guy in my bar who murdered a bunch of people. Can you please pick him up? But instead it's like, your kind ain't welcome here. Like, that's a little weird.
Yeah.
It's like, how is he not disassembled or in a lab or just in a prison somewhere?
Well,
no, he's in a bar drinking beer.
Magneto was in that
that
prison.
plastic prison.
Yeah. It's just like they gotta find something to put Wolverine in.
But also, like, the people that came and killed all the mutants. Now all the mutants are dead, and he's the only one, and they can't figure out a way to kill this dude? Like, or they can't figure a way to, like, bury him in a volcano or just something? Like, they were just like, no, you can murder all of us. You can murder just everybody. And then after a while, when you just get tired, then we'll be like, cool. You can just be a disgraced Wolverine now. Like, that whole universe is bonkers.
Oh, man.
That is refrigerator logic. Because I don't understand how that guy's not in prison.
Yeah.
No prison could hold the Wolverine. Shut up. Should we rate this sucker?
Yes. I'm a little torn because my instinct is to rate it land sickness.
Ooh.
But then, of course, I've been such a Deadpool fan for a long time. And also Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, and then Hugh Jackman, like, after announcing retiring and then, like, reprising his role as Wolverine, I'm like, do I, like, up it? Stepping out for fresh air.
Yes, that would be a step up.
I can't decide, because during the movie, I would definitely say stepping out for fresh air. And then now that we're talking about it and thinking about it, I'm like, land sickness. And then I just don't know. Do I get to up it a star just because of Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman? Like,
I mean, you can do what you want. This is your show. I mean, I can go first. I would say I am in a very similar boat to you because when we left the theater, I kind of thought, onboard karaoke, harmless fun. Like, was it Grammy-worthy singing? No, it's drunk people in a bar singing karaoke, and it was kind of like, all right, that's what I kind of wanted tonight. But as we've talked about it and as I thought about it, I do really think stepping out to get fresh air, it's just more relevant of a rating for me.
yeah.
Because it feels like it kind of felt like a miss. And the fact that Hugh Jackman finished the character of Wolverine with Logan, that was such a fantastic movie. Like, what a way for a character to go out. And then bringing that character back, obviously it's multiverses, blah, 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 but bringing the character back for this kind of was like, oh, you guys brought Wolverine out of retirement for this? I hope you had fun making it. It sounded like they had fun making it. But, yeah, really, it's not much to look at.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose I can do stepping out for fresh air.
You know what saves it?
Dogpool?
Dogpool.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Get that extra star because of Dogpool.
I mean, this movie is probably uglier than that dog.
Definitely. I think its name is Peggy, and Peggy is super cute. So yes, definitely the movie is. Shut up! Peggy's adorable. You leave Peggy alone. Do we have a rec for this week?
Our rec for this week is an anime called The Daily Life of the Immortal King. And I think the reason it's kind of our rec is that it has a lot of tone similar to Deadpool, a lot of jokey, a lot of kind of, we have an indestructible or nearly indestructible main character. But
he's indestructible.
Yeah, pretty much. He's
even more so than Deadpool.
Right, I agree. He's basically a god. Since he's been a child, he's been a god. But he's an unassuming god who doesn't really want to be a god or get involved. But the show has a lot of charm. The characters are fun. You know, his first adversary becomes one of his best friends. So there's just a lot of fun in it, I think. But it's fun in a way that doesn't feel like empty calories as much as Deadpool Wolverine. So if you kind of like that idea, it's over the top, it's a little silly at times, it's very immature at times because they're all in high school together and it's kind of, you know, dumb kids doing dumb things, but then also the universe is at stake randomly. But it feels charming, and it was a pretty good watch. They've done 4 seasons, and I believe they're going to be doing a 5th. And very watchable. You can watch it on Crunchyroll or any other place where you find your animes. So that would be our rec for this week, The Daily Life of the Immortal King.
Yeah. And that is it for us this week. Thanks for listening.
And we'll get back to the international dramas next time, don't you worry.